At the beginning of the film, an army base is shown with some army officers discussing an experiment. The head was telling them we can't use our best pilots or soldiers because there isn't any war in our area or on our base. Before we could use those officers, they either died or retired. That is why we conducted an experiment and constructed a chamber shaped like a box, which we dubbed the sleeping chamber. The whole body gets frozen inside the chamber, and the experiment will be conducted in such a way that the human will sleep moving inside it. That human will not die, nor will his age increase. He will remain exactly as he was before entering it, and we can take him out whenever we need him. The issue is that we have yet to conduct this experiment on humans. 2 people will be needed for the experiment, and they find a man in their department. His name was Joe, and he was weak in each task. He has no family, and a lady with him was experienced in making people fool. The officers chose them because if their experiment fails or they die, there will be no one to question them. They have no family, that's why they bring them into the chamber and make them sleep. The lady with Joe was scared, but he made her realize there was no need to be. This experiment was held on the animals before us. Now they both sleep in the sleeping chamber. After a few days, the officer conducting this experiment was arrested for drug possession. A government bulldozer destroys the site where the experiment was being carried out. Joe and the lady remain inside the sleeping chamber, and none knew 2 humans are sleeping in those boxes. Time passes gradually and the mental condition of the people gets weak. Now it was the year 2505 and the people present here were foolish. The residents here have no manners means they have no etiquette. Later, the chamber of Joe and the lady is revealed to be still in the garbage heap. When another car throws garbage, the garbage that was like a mountain falls. A chamber falls in a man's house and opens automatically, and Joe comes out of it. Joe was tired because he had been sleeping for many years. Now, as the officer said, the one who will sleep in the chamber will remain the same. Joe was still young today because he was sleeping in this chamber for 500 years. He inquires the man, "Where is our base? In whose house the chamber fell?" The man says which base, and Joe was talking about his department, his army base. On this, the man throws Joe out of his house, and he wasn't understanding how he reached here. He comes out and sees a few people standing, so asks them the address of his base. Because Joe was speaking in an old manner, the residents here used abusive language with him. In 2505, everyone uses foul language with one another. The interesting thing was none has any problem with it, and Joe was feeling he isn't well because of living in the chamber for a long time. He went to the hospital for a checkup, and it was filthy. It seems like none has cleaned this place for many years. Joe moves on to drinking water, and the interesting thing is that instead of water, there was a company's drink coming out of the tap. He becomes worried because of it and then stops a man and asks for water. The man gets surprised and asks the water that is in the bathroom. Joe says no, I need drinking water, but the man leaves while smiling after hearing it. Joe goes to the doctor and let the doctor check his hand. Meanwhile, he sees the newspaper, and the year 2505 was mentioned on it. Joe understood he has moved into 2505 from 2005. When he sees it outside the window, he realizes he has traveled 500 years forward. Meanwhile, the doctor notices there isn't any tattoo on Joe's hand. The doctor shouts and calls the emergency police because the people living in this era have tattoos on their hands. It identifies the man in the same way that our ID cards serve as our identities. The police arrest him and then makes him sit in front of the machine and ask him to put his hand in it. So this machine will give him his name and identity. A number appears on the machine and it was asking him, is this his number? Joe responds with not sure, and the machine believes its name is not sure as well. It makes a not sure tattoo on his hand. Later, he was taken to a facility where they conducted an IQ test to determine his level of wisdom. So, when they imprison him, they will assign him tasks in jail based on his wisdom. They ask him the most difficult question in their world. That you have 2 gallons in one bucket and 4 gallons in another, and he was asked to tell how many buckets he have. Joe easily answers 2, and then he was taken to jail, but he escapes while making the police officers fool. On another side, the lady who was kept in the chamber with Joe was named Rita. Now that she's emerged from the chamber, she's been duping people and stealing their money. Joe runs into that man's house where he came into his senses. Joe was asking that stupid man when I came here, and a few people were building time travel machines. He asks, "Do you know anything about it?" The man says, "Yes, I know." Joe asks him about the place, but the man says, "Why would I help you? What advantages will I gain from it?" Joe says, "I'll send a lot of money to your account when I return to my time. Likewise, you will become rich in a single night." Now the stupid man understood what Joe said and was escorting him to the location of the time machine. Joe meets Rita on the way. Now they move forward, but moving forward, Joe was again scanned. The police have taken him, but this time, Joe was taken to the White House. He was told here that he has the highest IQ of any human on this planet. The answer you gave in jail was the most difficult answer in the world. Meanwhile, the president arrives and tells in his speech, "Now we don't need to be worried, because we have found the man with the highest IQ in this world." The true reason was that crops were scarce in this world. They will now prepare the crops once more with the assistance of Joe. His brain, according to them, works faster. Later, they take Joe to a field and the crop wasn't growing here, and Joe calls Rita along with the stupid man there. So he will reach the time travel machine with the help of the man and will leave this world with his friend. He understands when he sees the map of the stupid man because he has made him a fool. Now Joe has to find out about the time travel machine himself. Then they can go back to their world. Later, Joe checks the crops and discovers they give the crops drink instead of water. That's why there weren't crops growing, and he tells them we have to water them, but none drinks water in this world. Even from the kids to the old ones, they all have drinks. Joe tries to make them understand we have to give crops water so they will grow, but they were not ready to accept what he was saying. Joe says a foolish thing and says I can talk to the crops, and they demanded water. Now they understand and start watering the crops. It has been many days since the crops have not grown, and the owner of the drink company has also suffered a loss. Many people were the workers of the drink company, but now they don't have any job. People who lost their jobs as a result of Joe are now demanding that he be punished. Joe was sentenced to death. Now it was the time when Joe will be given death sentence. The whole world will see it live. On another side, Rita and the man discover the plants are growing in the fields watered by Joe. They run to the place where Joe will be given the death sentence. Now they take a camera operator to the fields and play the live video of the crops. When the entire world saw this video, Joe's punishment was overturned, because the crops were growing because of Joe. Now Joe asks Rita we should go back to our world while using the time travel machine, but Rita refuses him because she likes this world. The president announces that Joe will be the vice president. Joe says I want to go into my world. Everyone is depressed after hearing this because they had high hopes for Joe. They tell Joe the problems of this world one by one. They claim that if you leave, we will never be able to overcome our problems. Joe becomes emotional after hearing this and he decides to live here. Joe and Rita married, and Joe became president of the world. This is the final scene of the movie. Thank you.